right, so we're back a year later on Uplift Ultra. My guest today is the lovely and the wonderful Stacie Jones. Stacie, thank you for coming on here. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me out, and we'll see how this goes.
Basically, right. First, we got to plug right away. We got to plug it because it's in a couple weeks. The KW Punk Rock Flea Market, the Slobber Knocker. We got Brutal Youth, Cerebral Scrub, Bad Egg, and Frank Dukes just headlining it, but we've got a ton of other great musicians playing outdoor shows and outdoor venues as well too. Outdoor vendors as well too. Plus, we have Off the Ropes Studio Wrestling out of Kitchener happen all in one glorious day from the looks of this.
we're just gonna do everything and see how it goes.
Yeah.
It's just like throwing paint at the wall, see what happens.
Love it. I love it.
We're really excited about it. So yeah.
As soon as I saw, I was talking with Chris at the last one you guys were doing, and he mentioned something about it, and my eyes just I was like, okay, I got to be a part of this somehow. Blah 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 blah, and then that's how we ended up with that. Basically, that sponsorship that got released earlier today. But that's basically it. When he told me about it, I was like, I have to be a part of this because the last one was literally one of the best days I've ever had in my life. Like, I don't just mean that just blowing smoke, but like, it was honestly awesome. Like, I was nervous as all hell just because like I don't really know, didn't think I knew that many people, and then I got down there, it was like, oh, I know a lot of these people, sort of thing. It was like going to the Death Proof show the last time. It was like, I know some people there, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh hi, oh hi, oh hi, oh hi, oh hi. It's just like it's crazy. But honestly, the last one in March was amazing. Like just it was just awesome. There's no other words I can put around that. It was so awesome.
It was a ton of work, but it was a lot of fun. So it's always good to hear that because I was running around like crazy. Then we played later in the night, and I don't remember half the day. So it's always nice to hear from people that say that they had a really good time, and it was really successful. We had a lot of people reach out and say that they had a good time, and people are already asking when we're doing the next one. So. Yeah.
Perfect. That's it. Like I'm glad to hear it was successful because I was just blown away at like this, just even the magnitude of it. Like you guys were running two, granted they are adjoined venues, but like two venues at the same time, running two like different shows at the same time, plus having like vendors out front selling stuff still with the winter going on. Like it was just the magnitude of it all just blew me away. I was like, this is going on right now. This is insane.
Yeah, it came together. It was our first time working with that venue, and so there was a lot of kinks along the way that we kind of worked out. Things we discovered when we showed up there the morning of. We were like, oh, how are we going to deal with this? So it ended up coming together fine. But yeah, it was definitely it felt chaotic, but it's good to hear that everybody enjoyed it, and I had fun too. I just don't remember half of it.
Well, yeah, you're running around doing like a million things. It's like it's just one big blur by the end of it, right?
Yeah. So
it was awesome. Like met a lot of really cool people there, which was really really nice because honestly, like I said, I didn't think I knew anybody, but then I was all of a sudden, wait a minute, I know you just from like interactions online and whatnot. That's how I met you guys, literally how I met you and Chris was through just online interactions. And they always told you never meet people online, but they lied about that one. They lied about that a little bit there. But
maybe don't, date people you meet. I don't know.
No, I think you're probably right on that one.
It worked for some. I don't know.
It didn't work for me. I found mine. I found the love of my life at the bar. So there you go. But like I was literally just that day and night. I was just like, oh, this set's done. Okay, back down to the other one or back up to the other one. It was just like literally like pinballing back and forth between like venues. It was awesome just seeing all like the different bands and like the different vibes between venues too, because like it was a lot more in. I keep on calling it Wax. That's how long. That's what I know that venue as. I know the hub,
but yeah,
I know it as
it's
Wax.
Still, in my head too.
Still,
yeah.
I saw Every Time I Die there. That's burned in my brain. Like that's. But anyways, hopping between like up there, it was like all like metal, like hardcore, and then back down to Bobby O'Brien's was all like some like pop punk, but like acoustic sets and whatnot. It was really like it was just like. just a contrast in styles between it. But it was really interesting how that worked, though.
Yeah, that's all the credit to Chris because he does all the scheduling for the bands. Primarily was responsible for most of the acts. Kyle was helping out with the hip hop stage. So yeah, all the credit goes to him for that because he figures out how to set everybody up so that you don't have conflicting style, two bands that are similar style, like playing at the same time. So there's a lot of work that goes into that. So he crushed it that day
I
too.
agree.
So
I agree. And you guys crushed it later that night. My God, that was just awesome. I don't know any other way to put it. When you guys started playing Fuck the Border, I just lost my shit. Like I was like, oh no way, no way.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's literally one of my favorite prop songs. So yeah, what was the one thing I had here? And just like the whole because I talked with Chris, like I was watching footage from when I talked to him like 3 years ago now, the first time. Just the whole concept of the punk rock flea market in Kitchener, like Waterloo, he said like it needs to happen more often, and the fact that like you guys are starting to bring it around, but just even the concept of the punk rock flea market, like combining those two venues together, like it doesn't like to people outside of it doesn't seem like it makes sense, but to like us it's like why not?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we were, what was it, 2019 we ran like a festival uptown Waterloo and we did multi venues, and so it was kind of like that, but it was nice to have it all sort of in the same place so people don't have to go quite as far to the next venue. So it was kind of just to play on that a little bit, but yeah, no, it was
Because
lovely.
I remember Koi Fest, you'd have to bounce like bar to bar to bar to bar to bar to see bands and whatnot,
Yeah.
which is cool. It's like a pub crawl sort of thing at the same time, but having it all like in one space, like it's either going to be this stage or it's going to be like the one upstairs, basically. And well, this one's going to be three different locations, correct? Or is it just Bobby O'Brien's and Elements?
So this time it's just the we're utilizing the outdoor space at Bobby O'Brien's for the vendors, and the music will actually be outside, out front as
warmer,
well.
So
so the only way we may end up using the hub if we get like an extreme heat warning, or if it's supposed to rain all day, then everything will be moved up into the hub. So music and vendors and everything. It'll still be free to attend, just indoors if it's sweltering and people are. I don't want anybody passing out.
No.
Yeah.
No, and right downtown too. So it's just like all the heat's just locked in there. I remember those summers down there. Oof.
Yeah.
What else we got here? But yeah, just like I'm really excited for it, and the fact that you guys are working with Off the Rope Studios as well too, to like put on a wrestling show as well as all of this together. It's just amazing to me. It's just I love it. I love it because there was a wrestling event down the States a couple years back. They had another one last year, but this year, but it was called Emo Fight. So it was basically like an emo night.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah, because I think like Darby Allin and
no, it was the guy who did his music played. I'm not going to say anything about the set, but he hit it out of the park with the Darby Allin theme. Let's just say that. But it was just the whole concept of putting like music, like the whole like emo music, whatever, with like wrestling, it blew my mind. And just the whole concept, like, and I've always like, as soon as I got into the deathmatch community, I was like, this is a lot like the punk community right here. So like,
absolutely, yeah. And I think that's sort of like I'm blanking on his Casanova Valentine, right? He's sort of coined the like the no ring sort of deathmatch wrestling / punk show, where he's from. And so I think it's sort of expanded out from that. Ours obviously a bit different because we wanted to feature, I mean, for me, it's always important to get, femme and queer folks out there and just giving them a space to do their thing. And so that was a big reason why I was excited to partner with Off the Ropes, just because I think the more exposure, the better. It's incredible that Kitchener is home to, the first, I believe, Canadian female-owned wrestling school. So, I definitely wanted to give them a platform to kind of showcase what they do and get that out there. So really excited to partner with them.
I agree. Like, especially with especially like in the wrestling scene, like there's not like, it's still like becoming like, it's obviously accepted as a thing, but it's becoming even more and more like you said, trans and femme and queer like wrestlers as well, coming like just becoming more of a thing now, or more of like I hate saying an accepted thing, because it's always like, for the most part, like in the last few years.
No, but yeah, I mean, I love wrestling. I've watched it since I was just a wee, but I don't think it's a secret that the wrestling community needs some work when it comes to, inclusivity and sort of and just like being accepting of like different identities, right? I think it still struggles with that to this day. So much better.
I agree.
And I think a lot of that comes with sort of better representation for starting even just with like femme wrestlers and like female wrestlers, right? I mean, it's come such a long way in the last 10 years, even just, women's divisions everywhere have sort of blown up, and incredible athletes. And you're seeing that aspect of it now, which I think is really important, as opposed to the Attitude Era, which had its, moments, and there were some really great wrestlers, but I think it just got overshadowed by
the problematic nature of it all in hindsight.
Yeah, and just all of it, really. Yeah. So, I just think in a lot of ways it's come very far. And I mean, like any community has work to do, but it's good to see a lot more acceptance. Especially with AEW, you had like the first trans wrestler, and I think that's really been helpful, I think, in a lot of ways, for just
representation, like you said.
Yeah.
It's, you nailed it. Basically, there's still a lot of work to do, but it's all in like stuff like this, like representation matters, like just making sure like these people are having a spotlight for this, and having an event for this, such like this. So I'm very excited for that. Like very, very excited for this. But next thing I want to talk about is Bad Egg. Like, you guys have been in existence now for 5 years. Like, the last show was your 5-year anniversary, which was crazy. Like, just like how it all kind of like worked together at the same time. But yeah, like just.
Yeah, it just sort of worked out that way. We started planning for Stay Cold, and when Chris thought about it, he's like, this is our 5-year anniversary. Like, we've been a band. We played our first show in March, like first real show in March of 2019. Anyways, yeah. So, it's 5 years. Almost 3 of those feel like they just disappeared during COVID. So
it happens.
But no, like it's pretty exciting, and we've got a lot going on this year, and more than we have at any point ever.
The UK tour,
and it's awesome.
Like, as soon as you guys announced that, I was like, no way, like that's crazy.
Yeah, I think last year when Chris went over and did his tour, his acoustic tour, met a ton of awesome people, and just there was a lot of interest to bring the band over, I think. And so Chris, it was surprisingly I don't want to say easy, but he did a really good job of finding dates. It wasn't too much of a struggle to set up that stretch of dates. So I think there's like 8 or 9 confirmed days, and then doing some record store stuff. So yeah, we're excited about it. It's a big
adventure. Just doing like
so there's a lot that we're like panically trying to figure out right now, but it's gonna be awesome.
It's a big adventure just doing a tour like around Ontario. I couldn't even imagine trying to book like an overseas one, let alone anything else.
Yeah, I think for us, being from the area, I think for us it was sort of like touring the States. We have a lot of friends in the States, but it's a bit of a struggle, because it's in a lot of ways it's easier to tour over in Europe than it is to get to the States, and I don't know if that's, I mean, the expectations in terms of visas or this and that, but we thought, what, like, let's just do it. Yeah, we will we tour the rest of Canada at some point? I hope so, but this is a good start.
Focus on the now, basically. One
Yeah,
foot in
yeah,
front of the other right now. But that's
yeah,
just, it's still, like I said, it's incredible. Like, I know, like, I know a ton of bands that would kill for just that, like, exposure, just enough just to be able to go outside of, like, my own town, basically, as opposed to, like, another
yeah.
country for that. So I'm really stoked for you guys. If I had my passport or anything like that, I would try to get over there for that.
Yeah, no, it's it's exciting, and but it comes with a lot of work, right? So it's not it didn't just happen overnight, and I think we've grinded pretty hard for the last 5 years, but especially the last couple of years, just getting out there more and doing more shows and just trying to play different areas because it's really easy to get into the habit of just playing your hometown and that's it because it's great when you play your hometown, people show up, it's always a good time, but I think to for the band to have longevity and more exposure, it's you gotta get those dates out of town, and so that's I guess the UK is a big leap there,
Most
but
definitely, most
yeah,
definitely. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. You can draw crowds to your hometown. That's one thing. But if you could draw crowds to, like, somewhere you've never been before, sort of thing, that's a different story.
yeah. For me, a crowd is like if we get for me, it's always like you kind of think about it and as like a stepping stone, right? So if you play out of town, play a new city, you get 10 or 15 people out. You know what? Like that 10 or 15 people that are into it, and next time you go back, there's you know more people because they're able to spread the word about the band. So I never knock low attended shows because I think you got to start
Yeah,
somewhere, right? So
there's still people out there
yeah,
who paid to watch the show. Like, there's still something.
yeah,
I've reading our band could be your life, and that's just a lot of what they're talking about. Like, it's all about, like, Black Flag and, like, all these, like, different indie bands through that time.
yeah,
But that's the one thing they were stressing was, like, yeah, there may only be 5 people at the show, but those 5 people still paid to see you guys play. So you got to give it for
yeah,
those 5 people, sort of
exactly.
thing, or however many people show up.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. I think like we're not playing a style of music where I ever expect 1,000 people to show up. It's just festivals or what have you, opening for bigger bands. But it's a smaller community, and I think that's why we love it so much, right? Like I think there's just like I don't know, there's like a family mentality to it, and um yeah, I don't know. I always love the small, like you were saying, like Snake Pit, like coming from small basement shows, like that's where we thrive, right? Like that's where we were born from, and I think that's I give credit to everybody that's running events, show like house shows, things like that, because it's providing a space that's really important for lots of bands that maybe wouldn't get to play to that are going to get to play to 50 people in a house, but they wouldn't do that if it was at the bar down the
Literally.
street, right? You might get 20 people. So I think that's really important too, is just that community development.
Well,
So
when I think of, like, you, Chris, and the other few people I've met, Brian and Kyle, and Zach, the few people I've met, like, all I can think of when I think of you guys is just scene builders. That's just the only, like, phrase that comes to mind. Like, you're just constantly just trying to do these things, put these shows on, do these events to build a scene in Kitchener, where it be Guelph, where it be Windsor, wherever it is. You're just trying to start, like, keep a scene, like, building and strong, and that's literally how I've
yeah,
described you guys to, like, the people I know up here, like, trying to do sort of the same thing. Like, the bands and people I know up around here, it's literally how I've described you guys: scene builders. Like, these are the people you want to
yeah.
talk to, like, these people right here.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Like all of these events we do, we couldn't do them without the help of everybody involved, right? So I think it's really easy to get caught up in the like this is my thing and this is get possessive of things, but at the end of the day you got to work with everybody because that's the only way things survive. And I mean that everybody that we work with are friends of ours, but we might have different opinions of how things should go. There may be arguments about various aspects, but at the end of the day, we all know that we're coming together to put music out there to an audience, and so you need to work together to do that. That's the only way.
Literally, that's the only way. The Rebel Spell song, "Bring Him In." That's the motto for this show. Basically, like, we're on the right track in one tiny scene, but if things change, our ideals must be mainstream. Subdivision of our subculture as our numbers growing thing. Ignore the difference. Bring him in. Bring him in. Like, that's it. Like, that's literally how it has to be. But yeah, like, and you mentioned the snake pit. Like, that's what got me into like this like area, like, aspect of all this, like like the reading the article and the court about like the whole thing about it. Like, that's how I got into like talking with you guys and all that.
Yeah, it was really great at the time that we had that space. Chris and I were living with some roommates at a different house, not too far from the snake pit, and we did a few shows there, and it was always successful, and it was great. Like, people came out, and it was always a lot of fun. And then when we moved into the snake pit, it was the way it was set up. It was set up perfectly for house shows, and it, it just I don't know, it just worked out really well. And at the time, there was really not a lot of space for bands, alternative, like punk, hardcore, metal. There weren't a lot of spaces for them to play at that point in time. There was, like, Shidey would do shows at Chainsaw when he could. I guess, like, Boathouse was that was a bit of a harder venue to book, but they would do the occasional show. But beyond that, like, there wasn't a space for that heavier, like, aggressive music. And so it came along at a good time. There was a lot of interest in the house. Just, we could have had a show every weekend, realistically, if we were insane. But like, it was much needed, and so yeah, we were happy to do that. It was, honestly, I enjoyed living at that house the most when we had shows going on. It just, people were always so great. We never had any issues, really. The odd thing here or there, but like, everybody was always respectful, more respectful than all the students that lived in the area at the time of our house and the space. And so, it was always, anytime you go to a house show and people are like asking you where to recycle their beer cans, like, like, we had it, like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just, people were always very respectful of the space, as much as possible, as much as you could be in a dumpy old former student house.
I know exactly, like, the thing, like I said to Chris, I knew exactly where the place was, but I just never, like, I wasn't involved as much as I am much as I am right now with this all. But just, like, it just seemed like something out of a movie, like a CBGB's in a house that, like, they're just having, like, all these shows go on, like, and it just happens, and nobody cares. No one ever complained.
It was, we 100% benefited from the fact that we were in a heavily student populated area. We never once had the police called at any point. No Amazing. Sound issues, no bylaw, nothing. And I think that was just because there was so much, like, the house parties and the keggers and things like that. I think that was where police, like, focused their attention. So when they go past a house and it's a bunch of, like, old punk assholes like us, they're like, yeah, whatever.
They're fine. They're fine.
Fine. Yeah.
That's amazing.
They'll take care of themselves, or they'll whatever. But yeah, no, we got real lucky with that place. And did it end at a good time? Yes, because I don't know if we could have kept, Chris and I had the sanity to do that continuously. But I miss a lot of that.
Was there any, like, particular, like, bands or, like, shows, like, that stand out in your mind as, like, either, like, just crazy chaotic or just some of, like, the best ones, basically?
Oh my, we had so many good ones come through. Like, we opened the gate with, like, some pretty good bands too, like Hopeless Youth and some other band. Not thinking of the name, but it was, like, right out the gate, it was like just, like, big heavy shows. And I think we had Grabert maybe opened that one. We had Grabert there a lot. always a good time. I love them to death. They're good friends. So anytime we had them, I think some of the more impressive ones that we pulled off, we had I don't know if you've ever heard of the band Hawkeyes. I don't believe they're no longer a
Okay.
band, but they're like a 7-piece like sort of like
Damn.
stoner doom rock band, and they all fit in the basement, and it was just the strangest thing. Like they had the whole light set up and everything, and like the bass player, he's like super tall, he's like standing in the back corner, like just you could just... And then we had like I don't know, like 50 people in the downstairs too, like it was packed. So just a lot of good memories that way. Like it was a lot of friends bands we met. We had John Creedon and the Flying Hellfish come through, and that's where we met John and Tony and all the guys, Corey, all the guys in that band.
Shout out
And
John
who have
Graydon.
become, yeah, and have become phenomenal friends of ours. And we do a ton when we can. Sorry, that's my cat being an asshole. We, they do so much for us, and because we've worked with them, so yeah, trying to think of, we had Alien Boys
Okay.
play in our basement, which is super exciting. That's Erica from the Rebel
Okay.
Spell
Okay.
is in Alien Boys. So that, which was super cool. That they were able to play at our house as well. Yeah, we just had a lot of good shows. I don't know, it was Hellbent. We had Crow Bloom played at our place a couple
Shout out
times,
to
or maybe
Ross.
just the once, but love Russ. Yeah, yeah. um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's any one show in particular. Oh, we had one of my favorites that we had was BP Guan, which is like, I don't know if you've ever checked them out. They're a really great, like indigenous sort of groove metal band. And we had them play with Uncle Ray, and I forget who else played that show, but that was like a really heavy one. And I think that was the first time we had Uncle Ray out, who have also become good friends of ours too. So that was a pretty memorable one as well.
Perfect. With the Snake Pit, and then going into like Pink Lemonade Records, did it just seem like a natural like sort of fit for you guys after the Snake Pit and all of your experiences there?
Yeah, so I think we had like obviously we were good friends with Scott Rebello from Frank Dukes. We had them play actually at our house before Snake Pit. They played a show there. And then they also played at Snake Pit a few times. And Yeah, I don't know. We Bad Egg ended up working with Pink Lemonade Records. It just seemed like a natural fit at the time because we were doing so much with a lot of their bands and things like that anyways. And so yeah, it just kind of seemed like a natural progression. We were already doing the market. We managed a lot of the Bad Egg stuff ourselves anyways. And so when Derek, who is one of the other people involved with the Pink Lemonade Records originally, when he had to step back for a bit, it just kind of made sense for us to pop in. And Zach at the time as well was doing shows a little different than what we were doing, and it just kind of worked together because it was like nice to have like people from different sort of, not different scenes, we all hang out together, but like different musical influences and bands that you would typically book, and so kind of brought it all together under the label. Yeah, so I guess that kind of it seemed like sort of a natural progression after when Derek had to step down, and yeah.
But yeah, like just running your own running your own label. It's just such a seems it's just such a crazy concept to like everyone else, like to me anyways, like and to other people. But like the challenges that come with that, just like putting on shows and just making sure like everyone has like releases and whatnot. Like
Yeah, we haven't had a ton of releases this year, but we really have done a ton of shows. And just I think that the shows are a really good way to connect with new bands in the area as well. And I think that that's a good way to establish relationships and hopefully maybe future partnerships, right? So yeah, I think the fact that like we have our releases and things of that nature, and it works pretty well. We all kind of take different aspects of might deal with different bands or things like that. Chris and I often will deal with like the heavier acts, things like that. But yeah, I don't know. It all just kind of works together. And yeah, those shows I think are really important. There's been a lot of younger people are getting back into playing instruments and playing music and playing in bands, which I think is there was a long stretch there where it just wasn't. I don't know whether it was just not what they were into, or there was no sort of. There's always like one sort of like flagship band from a genre that gets kids into certain things, and there was no. I don't know if there was like any standout like punk bands or anything at the time for a stretch there that were really popular, that were really drawing the younger kids in. So, but now I think a lot of it is tied to like the hardcore scene is just blown up
Oh
like
my God.
crazy. So many young kids are involved, which is
It's
great.
insane.
Um, and there's like a marriage of a lot of like there's a lot of that marriage coming back to that like hip hop and hardcore. A lot of it plays into each other, and so I think um yeah, just supporting younger people in developing their bands and getting them gigs, and I think it's really important because I'm old and I'm tired, and you know what I mean? Like I love doing this stuff, but I'm not gonna do it the rest of, you know what I mean? Like I also have a life and a career outside of this, and I think there need to be people in line ready to sort of step up and do these kinds of things. Um, Keeping younger people
I
involved.
agree.
I like to think I'm young at heart, but I'm not 20. So
I feel you every morning. I feel that. I
yeah.
feel you. Is there any like future ambitions for like Pink Records or Pink Lemonade Records that you can like share right now, or any like future like plans you guys have or anything like that?
I think, yeah, I don't know. I think we've got, I mean, I mean, Bad Egg is working on a new release. So hopefully at some point in the near future, that'll be, a release that we'll get into. I know that I believe Frank Dukes is recording some new stuff as well. So there's definitely a lot of bands sort of in the process of doing some recording, and so I would venture probably in the next year or so we'll have a bunch of releases to do, which is nice because we've really been focused on um, a lot more on shows, which is great. But I think now that we've done that, we have more relationships, and hopefully we can do more music releases,
Yeah,
right? So
exactly.
yeah, I think that's kind of like looking forward. I think that's like where I'm at least I hope that that's sort of the direction that things are going. We'll see some more releases and obviously still be doing shows, but yeah.
So we were talking about new releases. You guys just put out like Bad Egg just put out some single recently,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
definitely you guys have definitely like started changing your sound up a little bit. Well, compared to what like your previous releases have. Has there been like any like specific inspiration for that like kind of
So
development?
hilariously, I think that what we recorded, the thing about recording is that a lot of like the songs that we've recorded, we've actually been playing for like a few years now, right? And
Fair
it's just
enough.
throughout the pandemic, things like that. So Static Brain is definitely a heavier kind of track, and I think it's a different sound, but it's also you probably won't hear it quite like that going forward either. So it was kind of like an homage to like some of our older heavier tracks, a little bit more dissonant, but um yeah, I don't know. It was a lot of fun to record. I love slow, like sort of doomy, stompy songs like that. So it's always fun to like do vocals for things like that. So I do really like performing that song. But yeah, I think it is a bit different, but it's not out of the realm of sort of, especially our influences. If you think about even just like local influences like Grabert, there's heavier bands out there that we've always listened to. But yeah, I don't know. It's our sound's always evolving, and I think the one thing about Bad Egg that I sort of appreciate is it can be really hard to pin down our sound because we have a lot of different influences, right? You have got like Shaidu, who's very involved in the metal scene. So you've got Chris, you know, who's grown up with just like all kinds of music, but like definitely we were both in different ways involved in the punk scene in the area. For me, yeah, I've always liked punk, you know, hardcore punk. And so there's that influence, I guess, like vocally. Berto brings like a whole new sort of thing to the band as well. With he's was really involved in the scram scene, so there's like, and then Mitch, our newest guitar player, he loves like rock and roll, right, and like punk rock and roll. So it's a really, and Bill, of course, is like has played melodic mostly. He used to play in like some different kinds of like metalcore bands, loves like Protest Hero stuff like that, but also plays a ton of sort of melodic punk. So you, you get kind of a mixed bag with us, and I think it kind of works. I think that's what sort of makes us a bit different from a lot of what's going on in hardcore or punk right now. I think
I agree, and
we just try and combine all of it.
and I agree. Like what you said, it's hard to pin down the sound because it's like I trying to describe Bad Egg to other people. It's just like you just kind of have to listen to it. You'll experience it for yourself. You can put it wherever you want to put it. I just say it's Bad Egg. That's about it.
Yeah, musically we're a little all over the place in a good way, and also like I think a lot of people that have made comments on like that's, I think John Creedon, one of his favorite things about our band, he's like, you guys don't have an image. You know how bands have like an image, everybody, you know what I mean? Like we're just all so different as people, and it works together great, but we definitely don't, we're not an image band at all.
And even performing, like you can tell that too, because you don't dress like alike. You're all over, like you're all positioned all over the stage different. It's just like, but this is Bad Egg.
Yeah, it's just chaos, right? Like that's, I think, and I think that we sort of embrace that. Yeah, no, I've kind of what I love about the band is just, you know, maybe if we had like a really like a more designated sound, you know, I don't know what that would mean for us, but I think a lot of people appreciate us, and I think we reach a larger audience just based on the fact that we have a little bit of something for everybody.
I agree. I completely agree with that. Is there like been any like specific inspiration for like lyrics or like anything like that you can like off the top of your head sort of thing for any specific songs?
I mean,
pretty vague question, I know.
Yeah, no, and it's funny because when Bad Egg started, it was intended to be kind of like a joke, like a tongue in cheek, like I don't know, and I was finding like struggling writing like funnier lyrics, and I was just going on. I'm always writing about just like my own experiences and just like frustrations with life and things like that. And I mean, there's lots of bands that have probably influenced me over the years, but I think for me, it's more experiences that really influence my lyrics. So I know with Static Brain, that for me is sort of just like the frustration with being, you know, like admittedly, like I'm diagnosed with an anxiety disorder and probably, you know, a ton of other things. And so that's where it comes in, right? It's just that a lot of the lyrics are just like being so frustrated and stuck in your head and just like in pain because you're constantly anxious and worried about things. And so that's sort of just like a bit of an exploration of just like internalizing a lot of things because of that. So but everything's different, right? Like activism is more of like I mean, you've listened to it, so you know, but that one for me has a lot to do with just being, you know, like they talk about we're in Pride Month right now, right? So you talk about like, you know, like pride, like corporate activism, which is not really a real thing. It's all, you know, manufactured, and just being frustrated with bands, with companies, with people that aren't true to themselves and just feel like they're, you know, like I've seen it out there. I'm sure you have too. There's bands that sing about things and write about things that they have no lived experience with, and it's almost like they're using it as a way to sort of gain notoriety through their like political stance, which is fine, but it's a really weird, again, this is my brain just like overanalyzes everything. And for me, it's just a strange thing to just like market yourself based off of your political stance. It just seems
Mm-hmm.
strange. So, but yeah, like everything has its own sort of influence. A lot of our earlier stuff was stuff that I had written after like going through like years, but like years prior to going through separation. So it's all sort of involved in that way. I also work with, youth and people with developmental disabilities, and there's a lot to be really fucking angry about in terms of the education system and just the complete disregard for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities as humans. So yeah, I tried to write funny, happy things, and it doesn't happen because I'm just angry 90% of the time.
Can relate. This is
Yeah.
why this is so much in the life right now. Well, right now, half of my life now has been devoted to that. It's why I do it for a living. So there we are.
Yeah.
But yeah, it makes sense. Like it definitely translates that passion, like regardless, like anger or whatever else, that definitely translates through the lyrics and your performance. Like especially your live performances, like definitely like it translates.
Yeah. Yeah, that's come a long way too. I mean, the first few years we played, if I faced the audience, that was like, I still don't often, but I'm getting better at it. I'm trying to, move around a little more and just like try and get out of my head a little more and just have some more fun while I'm up there, I guess. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah.
And has there been
um
any
yeah.
like I don't know like experience wise, but like anybody like a chick vocalist sort of thing, like any like of that bullshit like creep in with this?
Um, you know, I think we're in a time where like I'm so grateful for the fact that it's become a not almost become a non-issue because there's so many women involved in punk and hardcore. But I mean, when I was growing up, like I'm 30 over 35. And so it didn't always it wasn't always the case. Like I was involved in the punk scene for a long time, and there was definitely a point where it was like anytime a band came through that was like there was women or queer folks or trans folks involved, it was like super refreshing because I felt like it was more representative of like where I was at. So, not to say that there aren't really great punk bands out there, really influential. I mean, punk bands that are all male, like cis male, but it was just it used to be really hard to find influence in terms of vocals and music and stuff like that for women and doing heavier stuff. There's a lot more going on now, but it took a long time to get to a point where there was a community of that. So I think yeah, it just depends on the music scene too. Like we play different shows all the time, and I think the shows where people are there's always going to be I find like metal shows, things like that, there's always more of a bit of a like, oh wow, like didn't expect you to look like that or sound like that, like I I don't know. That's definitely something that I think I've encountered quite a few times through the band is just like, oh, like I really didn't get it what you were doing until I saw you guys play, and now like I get it. It's like well, I don't really know what that means.
Okay.
Or just like yeah, like wow, you've got like yeah, just I don't know. I'm always surprised when people are shocked to see me doing what I do because in my mind it's not that out of the
Literally.
ordinary. But I think that's just my musical influences, right? So yeah, and when we play to older audiences, I always find there's still a bit of a like, oh wow, like it's sort of a thing, but I'd be more than content to just like never be acknowledged as a woman in a band because it doesn't have to
No,
be
it
a
really
thing,
doesn't.
I don't know.
No, like
Yeah.
you said, especially in this day and age when there's like enough like bands out there doing it,
Yeah.
just another person in a band,
Yeah.
whatever. At this point,
Yeah. And I mean that's yeah, I still definitely like to like obviously with Stay Cold we were partnered with Femme Folks Fest. So there was certainly a focus on showcasing bands that featured like femme and queer folks. Because I still think there is, again, like we were saying before, there's still always work to do in that sort of realm. But I think I I hope to get to a point where it's yeah, like I said, it's so natural that it's just a non-issue. It's a non-commentary sort of
Literally.
moment, right? It's just it
Literally.
is.
That
Yeah.
that I think should be the ultimate goal for like across the board, not just like for our scene and not just for like the pro wrestling thing, like pro wrestling scene. I think it
Yeah.
should be like like our ideals should be mainstream in a lot of regards, but especially that regards. And like we were saying,
Yeah.
Pride Month and all this stuff with like all the horse shit that's going on down south and even around like my area as well too. We've had some like kickback for some stuff like and whatnot, but still,
Yeah.
like there's always work to be done, and I'm just glad we're in a place now where it's starting to be like you said, it's just a thing sort of thing now.
Yeah. Like in an organic way and not like this weird manufactured like business like corporations shoving it sort of into your face. Like in a more organic and just natural way these
I
things come
agree.
together. I don't
I
know.
agree.
Yeah.
Has there been any like particular bad egg shows that stand out to you for better or for ill? Like just venue wise, like crowd wise,
Um
anything?
we I think even Shiny, like Brian made a meme about it once, that like Leonardo DiCaprio, like the I own two Monets, and we played at What Up Dog in
Okay.
Hessler once. It's a hot dog restaurant, and it could only fit like maybe 20 people in there. And it was so funny. Like I had so
Oh
much
my
fun
god.
because it was just the most absurd thing. Like the walls like are like yellow and red. Like
Amazing.
yeah. Yeah. So that's like one that stands out
Tell
as
me
just
they
like a
didn't
kind of
pay in a hot
hilarious
dog and a
thing.
handshake though.
Well,
No,
essentially
fuck.
yes, but like I think I'm pretty sure I paid for my own hot dog. Like I don't think
Jesus.
it was one of those. Like somebody else put it on. It was
Fair
totally
enough.
fine, but it was definitely one of those shows. It was a smaller place. Who did we play with? We played with
That's amazing.
um I forget already. Uh, surf band, not coming to my brain right now. But anyways, it was anything we had kind of just went to the out of town bands, which is just the way it goes in a place like that. For me, I was playing at a hot dog place in Cambridge. Like
That's just strictly memories right there. That one.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, and did we like they were I remember there was like a whole moment online where somebody at the venue, like one of the people that worked at the hot dog place, was like, "Oh, this is so great!" Like posted a video of like us playing, and it was just like a slew of comments from like 40-plus-year-olds in Cambridge, Ontario, that were like, "This is terrible. They sound like they're playing." Like what was it? Oh, it was
Oh, fuck.
like playing Guitar Hero or whatever in their like parents' basement. There was like a comment about that, or worse than like yeah, it was just that was I kind of thrive in moments like that because I'm like, this is hilarious. Like I don't expect
I,
people to get it, and that's the exact response I would expect from people in Cambridge,
for
Ontario.
real. Scaring the normies is literally like what I live for. Like whether it be with like punk rock or showing people like deathmatch clips and stuff like that, just that reaction I live for. I love it. Chachi on Acid, I saw them play at Jesus, at Chainsaw one time, and literally,
Yeah, Colin is the most
oh,
hilarious front person.
literally, and just the
And they've been around forever, like since I was like just wee,
oh
like
yes, but
so
just the people who were
yeah.
coming and expecting Friday night karaoke and Chachi on Acids running around, they're like, "What in the holy fuck are we watching right now?" Like, just oh my god, that was the part that killed
Yeah,
me. That was literally the greatest. Like, just the
yeah. I love those kinds of weird. I love playing shows like that because you get like hilarious reaction for some, but then some people are like, wow, like I wasn't really expecting to be into that, but I really dug what you did. So yeah, like I said, those opportunities, even if it seems absurd and like just like why am I doing this? There's always a
always
reason, in some way. Um, yeah, I guess that's one of the more ridiculous ones. I don't know if I've played any shows where I would say I was like disappointed or like had like a really bad experience or anything like that. I know we played at the Elephant's Nest in Chatham. I don't know if you know Chatham, Ontario very well, but we played the Elephant's Nest, and we were playing with some like melodic punk bands. Well, it was with John Creedon actually. Yeah. So like Chris, we were all kind of rolling around together. And then Lee Resistant, and was it Lee Resistant or was it Wired Wrong? I think it was Lee Resistant and The Lost, and then this band called Saves the Night, and we were definitely the outlier. I thought for sure, like I was waiting as we started playing, like the exit to the bar is like right beside the stage, and so I was fully anticipating like people just like clearing out as I started screaming, and there was like a small group of people that did, but out of nowhere, like these guys from the back came flying up and started like hardcore like moshing and like spin kicking and stuff, and I was like, that's pretty great. Yeah. And so actually we went over pretty well there, but I was like not expecting that. So yeah.
Amazing. That's awesome. Yeah. I literally watched a guy throw a tornado kick into the pit at Stay Cold. I was like, what in the holy fuck? Like, how?
Oh yeah. 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 No, that's the hardcore. That's the Hamilton hardcore, literally. Right? They love that shit.
Literally.
So, it's wild. Is it for me all the time, the crowd killing? No, but I mean, that's their scene, and kudos to them if everybody's cool with that.
Hands up.
You know, I mean, we're in a death match, so like, who am I to say a fucking thing about like how people mosh and like throw down for a set, right? Like I watch people bleed.
Literally,
for fun,
so. I watched my friends get carved up like last month in the ring, and we were all like, yes. So like, there you go. So yeah, I don't know what that says about me, but there you go.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Oh, and you saw it. We played the Death Proof.
The No Ring No Show.
765, and so that was. Chris and I knew what was going down, but the rest of our band had not really like experienced that before, and so that was a riot. Like Scott just like standing on stage while there's like I think it was like Matt Cash and
Tyler Hill. That was
yeah, like just destroyed. Like there's like it was wild. Scott was like, holy. Yeah.
Oh, that again.
So that was another like experience show, right? Like regardless of whether, but yeah, so that was a lot of fun. But
yeah, again, it's just don't know what you're getting yourself in for. Those are like literally like the best like reactions. Those like, oh, what is about to happen here? Well, you're gonna see. It's awesome.
Yeah. So I actually have a funny. This is totally not related to Bad Egg, but I have a funny story. I played roller derby.
That was literally what I was going to segue into, is talking about roller derby. So this works.
Yeah. Yeah. So I played roller derby for a long time, and as you know, I've known like Chad, like Warhead, for a very long time, and so he had us out a few times, like as a league, but the first time I brought people out like en masse to one of his events, it was Warhead and what's his name? Viking. Oh, he's from Montreal. Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, that match. Oh.
And like, some of them were into it, and others they were like, I have to go. And I was like, no, that's fair. No, that's fair. Yeah. So that was like, I live for those moments too, where you like bring people to something completely new, and sometimes you get a fan, and other times they're like, no, never
50-50.
Again. But that was a rough one to watch. Like that was. Oh yeah.
The weed whacker spots are always rough. Even Neil taking one last month was pretty rough, but he took it front and back, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, they took it a lot to their stomachs, and I was like, that's disgusting. Like even I was like, oh.
Yeah, I remember talking with him about that match, and I went and watched it after the fact. I was like, yeah, nope, none of that.
Yeah. That was at Elements, by the way, where we're.
Oh wow! I did. That's amazing.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, yeah. I only associate.
There will be no weed whackers at this match. This is a family.
Yes.
It's all ages. I'm not going to call it family friendly.
It's all ages, though. Yeah,
it's all ages.
yeah.
So
I knew what I was getting. I knew that going into this, but still, there's a lot of wrestlers on that card that I'm like, other than Warhead, that I knew, like Ryder Furlong being one of them.
yeah,
Just some other people I'd seen there. Daddy Davis as well too. Kyle Boone and Shiloh. Like I've seen like other people like that in other shows
yeah,
as well too. So just all coming together. I'm really excited for it still.
yeah. I'm really excited for it too. I know, like Sabrina put in a ton of work. Obviously, is the person responsible for setting up all of the
Shout out.
wrestling. So yeah, so I'm actually really excited for her match against Jeff Black because
Intergender.
I love that, like intergender, especially like couples, like intergender
Couples therapy, we call it.
matches. Yeah. Yeah, she was like, "We're gonna do a good housekeeping match." I was like, "Yes, you
Amazing,
are."
amazing. So we were
Yeah.
talking about roller derby there. What drew you to that sport, like initially? Like what did it like? What brought you into it?
Um, Well, I mean, it used to be like years ago. It was a totally different entity then, but I used to watch it with my
Yep.
dad all the
I
time.
remember watching it on
Loved
like
it.
Game Show Network, like the old '70s reclips,
Yeah,
and
it
I've
was like
seen
there's
both
like
and the
yeah,
rollerball movies, like even the remake. I don't give a shit what anybody
yeah.
says. I still like the remake. Both of those movies are
Yeah.
fantastic in my opinion.
Yeah, but yeah, so I used to watch it and then um I think for a lot of the current like the roller derby community, a lot of it came to be based on there was an AEW documentary. It was like a series about the Texas Roller
Okay.
Girls. And so that was like I don't know how many, I think it was like 12 episodes on A&E. And I think a lot of people just like really got into it because that was that sort of like DIY. It was like roller derby, but totally DIY and like um run by the women as opposed to run by some like corporate entity. Everything was done very in-house DIY, just like the punk scene. And so watching that, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like two things that I've always loved. And then not too long after that came out, somebody in town, my friend Beth, actually tried to organize like the first league in town, and so my good friend Bree at the time was working at Tora Tattoos, and Beth was a client there. Came in and was talking to Bree and was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be starting this roller derby league. You should come out to the first like meeting." And so she immediately called me because we were both like really into that like documentary series. And yeah, we went to the first meeting for Tri City Roller Girls at the time, and I was with the league for a very long time after that. Yeah, I think again, it's just that sort of DIY, like everything's done yourself. It's just a really cool community of women, queer, trans folks. I think that's one of the important things that really happened with roller derby is the uh, probably one of the first. I know people love to knock it anytime you call roller derby a sport, but it is, and I've seen a lot of
Well,
dedication from
that was
women
another thing I wanted to
that.
ask. Is it's I'm from the pro wrestling like set of mine, like where
Yeah,
it's a sport,
yeah,
but like is it
yeah,
like it's
yeah.
not predetermined or anything like that? Okay,
Oh
okay,
gosh, no,
okay.
no. It's like
There's my ignorance.
it's very no, no, that's okay. It's like the stuff from the 80s.
Okay,
Yes, like that was definitely more of like a sort of staged thing, but what roller derby is now is definitely not that. It's definitely there's a point system involved, and so there's no predetermined anything. In fact, like there was a sort of, for better or for worse, there was a bit of a turn away from the sort of campiness of what was going on in roller derby, just because it was so hard to get past. She's a nurse by day and like a roller derby queen by night. Like it was this weird. I don't know. There was definitely a time where it was just like really kitschy, and that became frustrating for all of us that were super involved in it because we put a ton of work into it. Just like independent wrestling orgs, like there's so much work that goes into it. blood, sweat, tears, money that goes into it. And I think, yeah, I just think it was starting to get to a point where people weren't really understanding the amount of work that went into it, and so there's a shift. Um, do I think that the campiness needs to come back for it to be more successful for leagues? Yes, in my opinion. But like that's the I'm the outlier. I haven't played in years, so for me that's like outside looking in at this point. It's like sustainability and what I'm always thinking about that. Like what can you do to make something more sustainable when you see that drop in numbers and attendance and things like that? Like what needs to change? Um but yeah, I don't know. I love the time that I spent. I spent so much time, too much time in roller derby, but at the same time, met a ton of friends and just like, um, it really was a good sport and a good way to sort of bolster confidence and just things like that. Like I was never athletic, and so for me, getting involved in roller derby made me have to be because in order to be better at it and not hurt myself, I had to be more physically fit. And so that was a really fun way. I haven't found anything like it that, you know, keeps me in shape that I really enjoy like that. And so I think I am too old now and my knees would hate me forever. But that's what I really appreciate about Sabrina and Off the Rope Studios is that's another, if I was in town regularly, I could see myself like doing that just as a way to get exercise because it is something
you
different.
And me both. literally
Yeah.
Yeah, you and me both, we'll put it that way. I would, if I lived in Kitchener still, I would be there as much as possible, basically. Put it that way.
Yeah.
Really don't have anything else left here on my list here. Is there anything else you had? Anything else you wanted to bring up or talk about here?
I don't know. I think we talked about a lot, and do I remember 90% of things?
Honestly, I've had 5 seizures in the last fucking 2 years, so my brain's Swiss cheese. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
No, I just think it's thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me. I think I'm really excited about this event and really just want to see as many people out as possible, especially for the mixed wrestling and punk because that's everything I love coming together and I definitely would love to do more of it. Can we do it at like maybe a smaller scale, different venue? Absolutely, but I just really want people to come out and kind of check it out and get a feel for it because it's going to be unlike sort of anything else they've probably experienced. And especially for anybody that, I mean, punk, like you say, we always say like the punk community and the wrestling, like, indie punk, indie wrestling, there's so much alike. I mean, to the point where there's tons of wrestlers that are also in like punk and hardcore bands.
Brody King.
Like, yeah. It's just sort of I don't know, it's a way of life, it's a way of looking at things and yeah, I'm just happy to be involved in any way that I can, in sort of bringing those things together more often. It was great when we had Off the Ropes out for Stay Cold. If we had more, if it wasn't freezing cold, if there was more room, I know Chris and I would have loved to have had them do something there at that point, but at least we had them out and sort of like involved in the punk rock flea market so they could kind of get a feel for it.
Yeah, and I just want to say, like, before I end, like, you guys, like, Chris, and, like, you and Chris, like, you guys, like, honestly, some of the best people I've met, like, through this whole endeavor of mine here that I've been doing, like, even just through, like, the punk scene, like, honestly, like, you two have shown more genuine concern for my health and well-being than half of my fucking family. So, like, I just wanted to publicly make that a thing, but like seriously, like I truly appreciate you, Chris, and everything, like a lot of you guys and everything you guys have been doing, not only for the scene but just for like myself personally. Like I truly appreciate that.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, we love everything that you do too, and you're always so supportive of, and that's just it, right? Like you support the people that support you. You work together. You want to make sure everybody is good,
Literally.
right? And so whatever that looks like, whether it be physical health or mental health or anything of that nature. I just think it's just so important to take care of your community, and everything I kind of do in life, whether it be career or music or roller derby or all these things that I've sort of there's the underlying theme has always been it's a community, and just it's just so important to take care of
I
that.
agree. I agree. There's nothing else that can be said. I want to leave it on that. Well, Stacie, thank you so much for coming on here. I truly appreciate that.
No problem. Thank you for having me out, and looking forward to July 8th.
I honestly cannot wait for that.
Soon.
I really cannot wait for that.